SpaceX just confirmed Flight 11's October 6th launch, but here's what they're not telling you. The Coast Guard leaked the launch window. Ship 38 passed its engine tests. But behind the scenes, SpaceX is executing something that changes the entire Mars timeline. The crunch wrap heat shield, the single engine relight test they skipped, the accelerated pad modifications, these aren't standard procedures. Why rush Flight 11 when they could break turnaround records? What makes this V3 era so critical that SpaceX abandoned their own playbook? Let's dive right in. Here's exactly what's happening behind SpaceX's carefully orchestrated silence, and why October 6th marks the beginning of something unprecedented. When Ship 38's 6 Raptor engines completed their final test with 0 anomalies, SpaceX achieved something remarkable: perfect performance under extreme conditions. But this success reveals a deeper strategy. The Coast Guard's launch window announcement wasn't random. It was precisely timed to coordinate with orbital mechanics that most people don't understand. Every 26 months, Earth and Mars align for optimal spacecraft transfers. The next window opens in late 2026. SpaceX has exactly 24 months to prove Starship can handle Mars missions. This isn't speculation. This is basic orbital physics driving every decision they're making. This brings us to why Ship 38 represents a technological breakthrough. Unlike previous Starships, this vehicle carries what SpaceX calls the Mars-ready configuration. The crunch wrap heat shield isn't just an improvement. It's designed for multiple atmospheric entries on different planets. Traditional heat shields burn away during re-entry. SpaceX's system is built to survive Earth's atmosphere as practice for Mars' entirely different atmospheric composition. Every test on Earth gathers critical data for Mars mission planning. But here's what caught experts off guard. SpaceX skipped the individual engine relight test everyone expected. The reason reveals their confidence level. They're no longer testing single components. They're validating complete mission systems. When you're 200 million miles from home, one engine failure cannot compromise the entire mission. This confidence stems from simultaneous ground infrastructure development. The orbital launch mount modifications planned after Flight 11 aren't routine maintenance. They're preparation for rapid sequence launches that Mars missions require. Mars missions need multiple Starship launches: cargo, fuel, crew, and equipment. SpaceX is building capacity for launching multiple vehicles within days, not months. The Massey test site's return to service supports this increased launch cadence. These infrastructure investments only make financial sense if SpaceX expects sustained, high-frequency operations. That level of activity aligns with Mars mission timelines, not routine Earth operations. This confidence stems from simultaneous ground infrastructure development. The orbital launch mount modifications planned after Flight 11 aren't routine maintenance. They're preparation for rapid sequence launches that Mars missions require. Mars missions need multiple Starship launches: cargo, fuel, crew, and equipment. SpaceX is building capacity for launching multiple vehicles within days, not months. The Massey test site's return to service supports this increased launch cadence. These infrastructure investments only make financial sense if SpaceX expects sustained, high-frequency operations. That level of activity aligns with Mars mission timelines, not routine Earth operations. SpaceX labels Flight 11 as beginning the V3 era, but understanding this requires context. The V1 era proved Starship could launch and land safely. V2 demonstrated payload delivery and orbital refueling capabilities. V3 validates systems for sustained human presence during interplanetary missions. The payload integration system being installed on Ship 38 supports this theory. While SpaceX hasn't detailed the payload, the system specifications match life support equipment, Mars surface operations gear, and extended duration mission hardware. NASA's immediate response confirms this timeline's significance. The Artemis II mission, suddenly scheduled for February 2025, represents NASA's acceleration to maintain relevance in the Mars race. The timing of NASA's new astronaut class announcement is equally telling. These 10 individuals, selected from 8,000 applicants, are specifically chosen for deep space missions. Their training program focuses on Mars mission scenarios, not just lunar operations. Anna Menon's inclusion after her Polaris Dawn mission signals NASA's recognition that commercial space companies are driving innovation faster than traditional government programs. SpaceX's strategy involves significant risk. They're betting that unproven technologies will perform flawlessly under Mars conditions. The heat shield, engine reliability, and life support systems must function perfectly 200 million miles from any rescue mission. However, this gamble is calculated. SpaceX has been testing Mars mission scenarios during every Starship flight without publicizing it. Each flight gathers atmospheric entry data, landing system performance, and structural integrity information applicable to Mars operations. Flight 11 represents the culmination of this data collection program. It's not just testing individual systems, it's validating the complete Mars mission architecture under Earth conditions. Success or failure on October 6th will reshape the entire space industry. If Flight 11 exceeds expectations, private investment will flood Mars-related technologies. International space agencies will compete for SpaceX partnerships. The space economy will reorganize around Mars as an achievable destination. Failure, however, would collapse SpaceX's Mars timeline and position NASA's Artemis program as humanity's primary path to multiplanetary existence. The stakes extend beyond one company's ambitions to humanity's expansion beyond Earth. Several factors will determine Flight 11's ultimate impact. Will Ship 38's heat shield demonstrate the durability required for Mars atmospheric entry? Can SpaceX maintain their accelerated development timeline without compromising crew safety? Does this flight prove Starship's readiness for interplanetary missions or reveal fundamental flaws in their Mars architecture? These questions matter because their answers determine whether humans reach Mars in this decade or wait another generation for the next opportunity window. This date represents more than another test flight. October 6th marks SpaceX's final validation of Mars mission capability before committing to the 2026 launch window. They're not testing components anymore. They're proving their complete Mars transportation system works. The accelerated timeline, modified testing protocols, and infrastructure investments all support this conclusion. SpaceX is positioning for humanity's next giant leap, and Flight 11 determines whether that leap happens in the 2020s or gets delayed indefinitely. Comment below. Do you think SpaceX's accelerated Mars timeline is realistic, or are they pushing too fast? What happens if Flight 11 doesn't meet their expectations? The next chapter of human space exploration begins in October. This is exactly why SpaceX abandoned their own playbook for Flight 11. They're not testing a rocket. They're validating humanity's path to Mars. Every accelerated timeline, every skipped protocol points to one truth. We're watching the final dress rehearsal before humans become a multiplanetary species. October 6th determines if Mars missions happen in the 2020s or get delayed another decade. SpaceX compressed years of testing into months because orbital mechanics won't wait for cautious engineering. When Flight 11 succeeds, expect Mars crew announcements, international partnerships, and launch schedules that will reshape space exploration. The entire industry is watching because everything changes after this flight. If this analysis helped you understand what's really happening with SpaceX, smash that like button. Subscribe to Great SpaceX for insider breakdowns of every major space development, and hit the notification bell so you never miss when the space industry makes its next big move. Because when humans land on Mars, we'll trace that moment back to October 6, 2024. The future starts now. What if I told you Elon Musk just shattered every theory about Starship landing without legs? While armchair engineers debated horizontal landings and legless concepts, Musk's own admission reveals the brutal reality. Those massive landing legs aren't optional. They're survival equipment. Here's what nobody saw coming. Despite catching rockets with Mechazilla, despite revolutionary engineering, Starship absolutely cannot touch down on the moon without legs. But it's not about weight or complexity. It's about 6 Raptor engines that become useless death traps the moment you try landing sideways. The physics are terrifying, and Musk finally explained why. Let's dive right in. The brutal truth behind Musk's statement traces back to a space race that's happening right under our noses. While most Americans celebrated SpaceX's incredible Mechazilla catches, former NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine issued a stark warning. We could lose the moon to China. This isn't political theater. China has committed massive resources to reach the moon by 2030, systematically studying and copying SpaceX's innovations, while NASA wrestles with Artemis program delays and budget constraints. The question isn't just who gets there first. It's who stays and builds permanent operations. That's exactly why Starship's landing system matters so much. Every engineering decision, from engine placement to leg design, directly impacts humanity's future in space. Get it wrong, and you're not just risking a mission, you're potentially handing space dominance to another nation. So what made engineers think Starship could land without legs in the first place? The concept seemed brilliant at first glance. Instead of balancing Starship vertically on mechanical legs, why not land it horizontally like a giant spacecraft lying on its side? The concept seemed brilliant at first glance. Instead of balancing Starship vertically on mechanical legs, why not land it horizontally like a giant spacecraft lying on its side? The physics actually supported this idea. The moon's gravity is only 1/6 of Earth's, meaning Starship's 120-ton mass becomes just 20 tons on the lunar surface. The spacecraft's entire hull could distribute this weight evenly across the ground, eliminating the balance problems that come with standing 50 meters tall on landing legs. Even better, horizontal landing would solve the surface stability issue that's plagued lunar missions. The moon's regolith, essentially powdery soil mixed with rocks, makes vertical landings treacherous. Recent private missions like Intuitive Machines' Odysseus and Astrobotic's Peregrine both tipped over during touchdown, highlighting just how challenging lunar landings can be. SpaceX even included horizontal starships in their Moonbase Alpha concept art, showing how landed vehicles could integrate directly into permanent lunar facilities. The engineering community embraced the idea, with countless forum discussions and academic papers exploring the possibilities. But Musk's recent technical explanations reveal why this seemingly elegant solution contains a fatal flaw. Here's where Musk's admission becomes crucial to understanding the engineering reality. Starship's 6 Raptor engines aren't just propulsion systems. They're the spacecraft's primary guidance and control mechanism during landing. Every successful landing requires precise thrust vectoring, where engines gimbal tilt to make minute adjustments during descent. These engines must fire in perfect coordination to slow the spacecraft, maintain attitude control, and execute the final touchdown sequence. The system allows Starship to hover, move sideways, and place itself exactly where mission planners intended. When engineers proposed horizontal landing, they overlooked a fundamental physics problem. Rotating Starship 90 degrees also rotates those 6 engines from pointing downward to pointing sideways. Suddenly, your precision landing system becomes nearly useless. Even if we wanted to land on the side, Musk explained in technical discussions, the engines lose their main superpower, controlling the landing. Without downward thrust, the engines can't slow vertical descent or provide the delicate control needed for safe touchdown. This revelation transforms the entire landing equation. Instead of a controlled descent, horizontal landing becomes an essentially ballistic approach, more like a controlled crash than a precision landing. The implications for crew safety become immediately apparent when you consider what this means 240,000 miles from Earth, with no rescue mission possible. The natural engineering response might be to redesign Starship for horizontal landing, add side-facing thrusters, modify the hull structure, relocate critical systems. However, this approach reveals why SpaceX's best part is no part philosophy led them back to landing legs. Consider the cascade of changes required. You'd need entirely new thruster systems for horizontal descent control, additional fuel tankage to feed them, modified structural reinforcement to handle sideways loads, and completely different life support in crew egress systems. The crew compartment, designed for vertical operations, would require fundamental redesign. Even basic functions become complicated. Starship's crew door assumes astronauts will exit onto a stable platform when the vehicle stands upright. In horizontal configuration, crew members would essentially climb out of a sideways building onto loose lunar soil, creating both safety hazards and operational difficulties. By the time engineers finish these modifications, they wouldn't be building Starship anymore. They'd be creating an entirely different vehicle, one that's heavier, more complex, and paradoxically less reliable than the original design. This analysis brings us back to the core engineering principle that SpaceX discovered through Falcon 9's development. Sometimes the most complex-looking solution is actually the simplest one. SpaceX's confidence in vertical landing comes from years of successful Falcon 9 operations. Since 2015, Falcon 9 first stages have executed over 200 successful vertical landings using a proven four-leg deployment system. The Falcon 9 landing legs use lightweight carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb construction. During ascent, they fold tightly against the rocket's body to minimize aerodynamic drag. Seconds before touchdown, gravity assist deployment, while pneumatic actuators powered by high-pressure helium lock the legs into position. The system demonstrates elegant engineering, simple deployment mechanisms, lightweight materials, and reliable operation in the harsh environment of rocket landings. Most importantly, it proves that vertical landing with deployable legs can be operationally reliable for dozens of flights. However, scaling this technology to Starship presents new challenges. Starship's 9-meter diameter and significantly greater mass require 6 legs instead of 4, each substantially larger and stronger than Falcon 9's hardware. The increased complexity serves a crucial purpose: redundancy. If one leg fails during lunar landing, the remaining 5 can still provide stable support. This redundancy philosophy mirrors Super Heavy's 33-engine design. When human lives depend on the system, backup options become essential. But lunar operations add complications that Earth-based Falcon 9 landings never face. Landing on Earth gives Falcon 9 predictable concrete pads or drone ship decks. The Moon offers no such luxury, only regolith, rocks, and craters that make every landing site unique and potentially treacherous. Lunar regolith behaves differently than terrestrial soil. Formed by billions of years of meteorite